So, anyone have any questions about scratch build with styrene sheets?
How do you do it?
Build us a box.
Yeah, is there any styrene here?
Crazy about boxes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Scratch for the harrow.
Every time I ask you about anything, you just say build a box.
That's basically all there is to scratch build. If you can build a box, you can build anything. Because most shapes are just boxes and boxes and boxes.
I don't see that in the high gloves, so I don't know how to do that.
My tools are all there on the site.
This is being filmed, right?
Right side. Yeah.
This is being filmed, right? It's going to be filmed like the forums or something?
Yes, it's being filmed right now.
I apologize, I have to leave. I have an hour drive to get back home and I got to take my mom out for dinner.
Oh, okay. Nice meeting you, man.
Nice meeting you, man.
See ya.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Remember, every second weekend, sorry, no, not Sunday. Next is going to be a Saturday.
It's going to be Saturday.
Yeah, because we alternate, because some people can make Saturdays, some people can make Sundays. So we alternate Saturdays and Sundays.
We can usually make it.
Awesome.
Okay.
This is usually every second weekend.
Alright, I'll just keep my eyes on the forums.
Cool, man. Cool.
Thanks for having me and hope to see you
Alright.
again.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Okay, so you need sheet styrene first, right? This kind of sheet styrene you get here is evergreen. You can get it in most hobby shops. You want to get just flat sheets. They're pretty cheap. You can get really, really long ones. And then it also comes corrugated, which is when there's little lines molded into it. And they use that for railroad siding and stuff like that, railroad modeling.
Like roof shingling.
Roof shingling, stuff like that. That's really good as well. And we'll get into that later. But basically, this is your standard styrene sheet that you'll use. This is really, really thin.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different thicknesses, but generally you want to use thinner stuff and layer it, like laminate it together to make bigger shapes. Because the thicker sheets are actually much harder plastic that are impossible to file in sand. So you generally try to use thinner sheets and laminate them. But that's just experience. That's different brands of plastic too. And depending on where you get your stuff, you can use even plastic from like gift cards, like that's styrene, right? So you just stuff it. You can score it and snap it. You can use it on model kits. You can use for sale signs, like you get at dollar stores. That's really thin styrene with just for sale printed on it. So that's kind of this sort of thickness, right? But once you have your styrene, the other thing you need is good ruler, metal ruler. Don't use plastic rulers. Don't use plastic rulers with a metal side. The metal side is for the knife to run along, but guaranteed eventually your knife will just scratch up the ruler and ruins it. Lots of metal rulers come with cork on the bottom, so that they don't slip. You don't want that because the cork lifts the ruler up off the surface, and you can actually put the tip of the knife underneath and get a weird wavy line. So, flat metal ruler, styrene. Making a box is basically the most important skill for building anything with styrene. You can make almost everything out of a series of boxes on top of each other. Most Gundam kits are very blocky, and you make them with boxes. So the first skill, the number one skill is score and snap. So take your ruler and you run your knife along it, but you don't cut all the way through the plastic because most plastics are thicker than this. So you cut through this. We actually cut this with scissors. A lot of thin plastics you can use scissors, and a lot of times if you're doing any kind of curved surfaces, you want to use thinner plastic, use scissors and then laminate them and sand them on the sides. But you score the plastic, then you bend it. It bends like that. You bend it back the other way, and it snaps off. So that's score and snap. For boxes, what you want to do is, obviously we're not measuring anything right now, because we're just building kind of generic box. You measure out your box, and you measure it out so that it was flat on the surface, right? So you draft it so that all 6 sides of your box, if you're making a cube, are laid out like paper craft. Then you take your knife and score along your lines. And then, like earlier, when we were doing the score and stamp and we bent it, it was still attached, right? So when you're doing a box, that's basically the same thing. You just bend it like that, except you don't break it. And then this piece was too small, but you do the bottom side as well. And then that's it. You just fold it into a box. And then with some Tamiya cement, you just run on the inside. Well, I don't have enough pieces here, but.
Make more pieces.
This is
There's more pieces.
What's your finished product? Not something
Come on, I already
fast.
think on that today.
Scratch Go 964.
No.
But an N64 isn't a box.
No, exactly. That's what makes it fun.
the N64 is actually made with boxes.
Well, it's just the little. So we just put like another box on top and then putty it, or just
Yeah,
put
that's
lava
exactly
putty
it.
on top.
Like if we were gonna build this N64, we'd have a box here, a higher box here, another box here, and we just putty in the middle.
Okay. Thing is, I'm thinking like Scratch when I'm thinking of all those Xeon, like with all those curved edges, everything's curved. There's no boxes.
It is.
Yeah.
It's all boxes underneath.
Yeah.
That's how you make these. Because like you have to follow the same curve on like multiple pieces, right? So you actually use ribbing, which is made out of styrene.
Okay.
So you carve one out however you want the profile to look, and then you do that again to the other side. Then you do another one at a right angle like this, slide the styrene together, and then fill in the middle with putties. And usually they use polyester for that. You can use epoxy, whatever you want. So a cutting mat with a grid is a really good idea. Another really good tool to have is a light table, which is a box with a sheet on the top with a light underneath that shines light up through stuff. So use it for tracing and animation and drafting.
Or a glass table with a lamp.
Or a glass table with lamp. You can make your own really well. And actually, if you make your own, you can do it to whatever brightness of light bulb you want. So you can do really powerful ones that you can't get commercially unless you're dropping serious coin. But I have a small light table. I think it cost me like $40 on sale at Michael's. I got like a coupon, and it was a really good purchase for scratch building because light tables, you can actually draft the profile of whatever shapes you want to make on the grid paper with a black pen. Then if you put it on your light table underneath your styrene, you can just tape everything down to the light table and draw the shapes on the styrene and just cut it away. That's, you can do
but that's
super complicated shapes because it shines through the styrene.
Okay.
Right. As long as it's not really, really thick.
That's what I've had trouble doing is getting like reproducible pieces. Like I'll cut one piece and then I'll cut another piece that'll just be like totally different.
You can actually do like if you have like really thin styrene like this, you can actually trace without a light table over top of a drawing, then cut it out, and then pull that down, and then use that as a template to trace on thicker styrene. And you can do it with paper as well, just work it well because it grips.
Another way you can do it is draw your shape on the paper, cut it out.
Oh, and then
You just tape it on
flip
to
it on
yeah, just tape it on. I usually just tape it on and then just cut out the styrene around it. Cool.
Still have a piece for a box.
Where's the cement?
Because you have enough pieces for your box.
Hey, Derek, what was this?
Kess's version of the Gundam.
So, here we have our piece that's been scored, and now we can fold it into a box. So it's just like that. And then you fold it, it makes a box, right? And actually, as you can see here, you can do a lot of different shapes. You can make a lot of different curved shapes by just scoring and folding plastic. And then you put putty over top of it and then just smooth it out. That's how you can do some really complex curved shapes. Here we go. There's good tape here.
Tape?
Yeah.
Masking tape, okay?
Yeah. So good tape. You got to be kind of careful with this because they will crack along the seams with the scored. So you want to tape your shape together and then run some cement through the inside. Hold it together. And you can be really, really generous with the cement because it's actually not so much the binding and it's not fusing the two surfaces together because there's very little contact area. It's actually the cement that's holding it together. So you want to make sure to put some serious cement in there. And then once that dries, that's...
You don't do anything with a folded corner though, right? To strengthen it?
No, well, I mean, you can reinforce them. If you want to run cement on the inside, like this is a really thin piece.
Yeah, because then what if you do that, it'll split?
It can happen, but I mean, what we're going to do from here though is actually fill it with epoxy or something like that, or another kind of putty, or more styrene, and build from there. So,
Actually, in this case,
well, the seams is what you fill the seams, the corners, the seams with Tamiya gray, and then just sand them over. So you have a little bit of a curvature. It won't be a super hard edge, but like at these kinds of scales, it doesn't. No one knows.
Actually, just want to add to yours, right? When you're doing the box and you're have those small cuts or whatever, at this point, actually the polyester putty really shines because you can dab it in there without wrecking the structure. Epoxy is a little bit more rigid, a little tougher, so when you add it in there, you can actually break up the structure when it's still very fragile.
Alright, so that's basically it. I mean, we just built like tons of stuff, right? This could be tape off, then snap it off, and then from there we can sand it, draw on the putty what shape we want, and then file it in that shape. So, but from here, yeah, like, I mean, this is really it. If you can make this, you can make anything. We can make really complex geometric shapes. We can make cubes that fold into each other. We can do rectangles. You can do the stock of a gun and then put the barrel in. Spheres are...
Get a marble and build it on that.
Spheres are really hard.
Putting coatings of...
Spheres are very...
Because, I mean, basically what you got to do for a sphere is you find something that's the diameter that you're looking for.
Can't you just take putty like that and just roll into a ball?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, what you have to do is you take, say we found a marble that's the diameter that you need, right? We put that in a vise, something to hold it, then we take some thin styrene, hold it over a candle, and just shove it over top of it. Otherwise, you have to vacuum form, which you have to build a vacuum forming machine. It's really hard.
There's a way to make perfect spheres, but you need something called,
Yeah.
How do you do that? What
that's a whole nother talk.
That's,
I'd love to learn how to do that. Like, you know, you build like using Lego, you build like a...
There's a ton of different ways to do it.
Eventually.
For me, I just kind of phone it in. I do really lazy casting, and I'm much better at scratch building than I am at casting right now. So Derek is the guy to talk to about casting because he's getting really into it. And then if you go to monster attack meetings, there's guys that actually cast their whole kits and do them in resin and sell them and stuff like that.
Wow.
You talk to those guys?
What? Yeah, I know. I have to cast the Escafone soon, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I'm casting the Escafone, yes.
But yeah, it's
Escafone kit.
I mean, the problem with casting is that you basically need a pressure pot to remove the air bubbles from the mold when you pour it. Otherwise, you'll get weird bubbles inside of it, and then that affects your piece.
Yeah.
There's another way you can do it, but it depends. It really highly depends on the silicone that you use. If you use like RTV silicone, you can actually use something what they call a bombs away method. So you do not need a pressure pot to remove the air bubbles. So what that is that you just basically take a McDonald's cup, right? Rip a small hole at the bottom, tape it, and put in your silicone, mix it up as well as you can, and on basically the tabletop, put at the edge, and you put your mold at the bottom, right, where the space that you want to fill, and you just open the tape and it'll just drip in. Now what happens is that because it's very, very viscous, actually, no, sorry, not viscous, it will stretch as it drops into your area where you want to fill with the silicone. And because it's stretched very thin, it squeezes out the air bubbles as it goes down. And that's another way you can do it. You're not using the pressure chamber. Of course, the pressure chamber is guaranteed you get all the air bubbles out. But if you don't have the money to pay, to buy several grand worth of equipment, this is the only option.
Details? That's that's pretty simple too.
Yeah, it's simple, but at the same time, to get it to look right, you have to know how to bevel it nicely. Beveling is very important. To look clean.
It doesn't just look like plates glued on.
Or like wrongly cut plates.
What I do is I usually take a piece of masking tape, stick it over the kit,
Draw
and then
that.
trace the shape, and then trace on how big I want my claw plate to be. Take the tape off, lay it flat on a piece of styrene, and then cut it. Another way that I do it is I'll actually take the kit, and I'll take a pen, like a Sharpie, and then draw wherever I want shape to go. Just to figure it out and visualize it, and then cut styrene to fit on top of it. And then you always use thinner styrene because, like a dom's legs, well, that's hard to get a piece of styrene to stick to. You want to tack it on with cement. So you can use clamps, get some little tiny clamps to hold pieces on that are aligned with your surface, or you can stand there like an idiot, like I used to do all the time, and then just wait for it to dry.
Or crazy glue.
Yeah, crazy glue, you still have to wait. Because it's such like a thin surface area, no air can get in
Oh yeah.
between the two pieces.
Unless you just like tack the side.
Like it can, well, if you tack it on a curved surface, it'll curve. But, I mean, it's not that difficult. Like once you kind of have the swing of it.
There's nothing wrong with that thing's joints.
Already?
Yeah, it's been
I
modified.
did that really bad thing.
Hey, no, Adam did it.
I did that before too, and I regretted it.
This actually works pretty good because
It's not falling out, considering.
Well,
Hours.
how does it stand?
Probably.
Glue, you
it
glue it
stands
all
like a
together.
boss.
It's gonna be those
I did that same mod, and I regretted it
Order.
so badly.
It'll be fine. I mean, if he wants to do, I don't know, if you drill a hole in here
Yeah.
and then do a cannon straight through, like
That's
that's
what
what
I'm
you're
gonna
saying
do.
you're gonna do, yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do, yeah.
That's,
But-
then it'll hold it straight.
Because
I just wanted to be able to get to like standard for now.
What else is there? So the corrugated plastic that I was talking
I
about.
did. It's just
Yeah, what's the deal with that corrugated plastic?
Corrugated plastic is for use for making
not
siding
Well, it's finished. Oh, I just have to
or
paint.
railroad
Oh,
models.
Yeah,
No, I just put together
right.
for this.
What you do with it though is
Makes
basically it's pre-scored.
Yeah.
So we can take a sheet of it, put it
have
bam
another
over
one.
top of your drawing
Oh,
on a light table or whatever, and then just mark, and then just you only have to cut the vertical cuts. Everything else will just snap, and it's marked in integrals, right? So I mean, it's super fast. And if you wanted to do a really complex shape, instead of measuring it out and then doing a whole bunch of lines, you can actually just take it and then just run your finger along the inside and it'll bend around, and then you just make it your shape. You can do circles and stuff that way really easily. And then when you tack them together, you do a couple, and then you can make tubes, you can do whatever. The ones that have the really fine lines, are really good for doing like vents and stuff like that. Because if you have a kit like this, say there's a vent on the back or something right here, and it's molded in, that looks really crappy. You just drill holes in every one of the corners, cut it out, and then behind it, put a little bit of paw plate with the lines on it, the corrugated stuff, and it's instant detailing, and it looks way better. What I really like to do with the corrugated stuff, though, is I cut them into strips, so that the lines are throughout the strip, and then I cut it into different shapes or different lengths, and then use that and just glue them on all over the place at different spots, and it's just, it looks really detailed. And you put a couple up here, you can put one over here, one over here. And what else? Is there, don't have any other questions?
Frappuccino.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
That's not a question.
I don't know what's going on for Frappuccino. Sorry.
Are we going for Frappuccino?
There's 10 minutes left.
Well, depends on how
How fast
fast
you
you
can
can
walk.
finish your demo.
Well,
You can figure the rest out.
I don't know.
That's the issue.